And Gauff has done it somehow. She was so close to being knocked out in set 2, but she saved the match.
I just finished watching the Coco Gauff and Elise Mertens match, and I haven't even moved from my chair because the reality of what just transpired on that court is leaving me in absolute disbelief. Tomorrow morning, the sports networks are going to feed you a very inspiring, easily digestible story about a heroic comeback. They will tell you Coco found her championship mentality to win 2-6, 7-6. I am here to tell you, as someone who just sat through every single agonizing minute of that match, to completely ignore that fabricated fairy tale. The underlying reality of this contest should have guaranteed a humiliating, straight sets defeat. Coco Gauff just survived an absolute mechanical crisis, and the fact that she is the one advancing is a terrifying testament to her freakish survival instincts. To truly understand the absolute madness of this match, and why data analysts and tennis coaches around the world are staring at their screens in complete shock, we have to completely dismantle the illusion of the final result. The scoreboard declares Coco Gauff the victor, but the cold, hard mathematics of the game of tennis dictate that Elise Mertens was, in almost every measurable category, the vastly superior player today. The veteran outscored the American superstar, accumulating 101 total points over the course of this grueling, lung-burning battle, while Gauff only managed to secure 96. This absolute anomaly completely breaks sports betting models and defies the most basic logic of athletic competition. Gauff was outscored. She lost the overall point battle by a margin of 5 points, yet she is the one walking away with the victory and advancing to the next round. It is the most fundamental rule in sports that the person who puts the most points on the board wins the game. But tennis is a brutal game of crucial, high-stakes moments, and this discrepancy of 101 to 96 proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that Elise Mertens actually controlled the vast majority of the rallies, dictated the baseline exchanges, and executed her game plan flawlessly throughout the agonizing duration of this match.
Points, and then got a crucial breaker serve at the back end of set 3. Mertens will wonder what could have been, maybe what should have been at some time.
The illusion of Mertens' dominance goes so much deeper than just the total point count. Her service execution was nearly flawless for someone facing a top-tier opponent in a high-pressure environment. She landed a highly respectable 67% of her first serves, consistently putting the ball in play and forcing the American to work desperately for every single return. Furthermore, she claimed 57% of her second serve points, a number that is significantly higher than the tour average and drastically better than the output from the other side of the net. Capturing 55 total service points compared to a mere 47 from her opponent, Mertens established a rhythm that seemed completely unbreakable. She took the first set in an absolute, unmitigated blowout, taking it 6-2 and completely running the American off the court in the opening frame. By all traditional metrics, by every single standard of high-level tennis coaching and tactical execution, Elise Mertens did exactly what you are supposed to do to dismantle a top-3 seed. She was consistent, she fiercely protected her serve, she won the majority of the total points, and she forced the younger player into a desperate, suffocating corner where escape seemed mathematically impossible. And that brings us to the fatal flaw. We need to discuss the massive, glaring, neon red warning sign flashing over Coco Gauff's entire career right now. Throughout the brutal course of this match, she committed an unfathomable 16 double faults. That is an absolute, unmitigated catastrophe. That is not a slight technical glitch or a momentary lapse in concentration. That is a complete, systemic, mechanical breakdown of the service motion on the biggest stage in the sport. 16 double faults equates to exactly 4 entire service games handed over to the opponent for absolutely free, without the veteran ever having to swing her racket. She essentially started this match with a massive, self-inflicted handicap, actively sabotaging her own momentum and destroying her own scoreline every single time she stepped up to the baseline. Imagine the sheer psychological devastation, the crushing, suffocating mental weight of tossing the ball into the air for your 14th, 15th, and 16th double fault in a tight, high-stakes 3-set match. The arm feels like lead. The stadium falls into a dead, uncomfortable silence. The player becomes completely paralyzed by the overwhelming fear of missing the box. It is a form of athletic psychological torture that breaks most professionals. The horror story of her service game extended far beyond the double faults. Her first serve percentage plummeted to a catastrophic 43%. Missing nearly 60% of her first deliveries, combined with handing away 16 free points, paints a grim picture of a player who is completely lost in her own mechanics. She was serving blindly, bleeding points at a horrifying rate that mathematically guarantees a humiliating, swift defeat. When forced to rely on her second serve, which was constantly under attack, she only won 46% of those points. She was permanently on the defensive, permanently retreating, constantly digging herself out of massive holes created entirely by her own racket. In any normal universe, against any normal opponent on the professional tour, a player committing 16 double faults and landing only 43% of their first serves gets baggled. They get swept off the court in under an hour, and are sent back to the practice courts in tears to completely rebuild their mechanics from the ground up.
But you cannot doubt the character that Coco Gauff has shown. Tremendous from her into the last.
So how on earth did she survive this absolute self-inflicted disaster? How do you lose the total point battle by 5 points, commit 16 agonizing double faults, drop the first set 6-2, and still find a miraculous way to win the match? How do you mask a mechanical failure of that sheer magnitude? The answer lies in an unbelievable, terrifying level of cold-blooded, absolute baseline ruthlessness on the points that actually dictate the outcome of championships. While she only managed to land her first serve 43% of the time, the moments she actually found the box resulted in an incredible 75% win rate. That is pure, unadulterated violence. It means that on the rare fleeting occasions her serve actually functioned, she hit it with such devastating pace and pinpoint placement that Mertens was completely and utterly neutralized. She masked her horrific inconsistency by ensuring that her successful serves were essentially unreturnable weapons of mass destruction. Professional tennis is decided in the absolute microscopic margins. It is decided in the trenches when the score reaches 30-40, when the crowd stops breathing, and the pressure is thick enough to cut with a knife. Elise Mertens generated an astonishing 13 breakpoint opportunities in this match. Because the American was serving so poorly, Mertens was constantly knocking on the door, constantly threatening to put the match away and end the misery. But the veteran only converted 7 of those 13 chances, resulting in a 53% conversion rate. Conversely, despite struggling mechanically all match, despite being down a set, Gauff generated 10 breakpoint opportunities of her own, and she ruthlessly, clinically converted 7 of them. A 70% conversion rate on breakpoints under that level of distress is almost unheard of. When she smelled blood in the water, she did not hesitate for a fraction of a second. She turned into an absolute apex predator, incredibly efficient and deadly when returning the ball. She secured 49 receiving points to Mertens' 46, proving that while she couldn't control her own service toss, she was an absolute nightmare to serve against when her back was pinned against the wall. All of this absolute chaotic madness culminated in the second set tiebreak. After dropping the first set 6-2 and battling her own demons for the next hour, Gauff dragged the second set into a brutal, lung-burning tiebreak that ended with a scoreline of 13-11. The immense, suffocating, chest-crushing pressure of a 13-11 tiebreak is indescribable to anyone who hasn't stepped on a professional court. Every single point is a match point or a set point. Legs are burning with lactic acid, lungs are screaming for oxygen, and in this specific case, the serve is completely broken and unreliable. Yet in that fiery crucible of pressure, staring down tournament elimination, committing double faults, and fighting her own broken mechanics, she absolutely refused to die. She willed herself to win that tiebreak purely on raw athletic arrogance and an impenetrable mental fortitude. She completely broke Mertens' spirit in that 13-11 tiebreak. Once she secured that second set, the third set was a mere formality. She took the final set 6-3 because the veteran on the other side of the net was psychologically, emotionally, and physically completely spent from losing a match she mathematically dominated from start to finish. What transpired on that court today is not a feel-good, inspiring story about a heroic comeback. It is a terrifying, glaring warning sign fired directly at the rest of the Women's Tennis Association. If this young superstar can walk onto center court, play the absolute worst serving match of her entire professional life, commit 16 devastating double faults, land a pathetic 43% of her first serves, lose the overall total point battle, and still defeat a seasoned, highly tactical veteran by being a total psychopath on breakpoints and tiebreaks, what in the absolute world is going to happen when her serve is actually functioning properly? If she can beat you when she is playing at 20% capacity and handing you 4 free games, she is practically unkillable. She proved today that her mind is an impenetrable fortress even when her body and mechanics are completely betraying her. The sports media machine wants to sell you a flawless superstar narrative, but the underlying reality reveals a player walking on a razor's edge, surviving purely on an elite clutch factor and sheer intimidation. Is this serving crisis going to be her ultimate downfall in the later rounds of this tournament? Or is her freakish mental toughness and breakpoint efficiency enough to carry her all the way to a championship trophy despite the glaring mechanical flaws? How incredibly frustrated, how absolutely sick to your stomach would you be if you were sitting in the locker room right now knowing you won more points but lost the match? Drop your deep dive theories and your raw analysis down in the comments below because the mainstream networks are completely ignoring the reality of what this means for the rest of the tour. Make sure you hit that like button to help push this truth through the YouTube algorithm. Subscribe to the channel so you do not miss a single analytical breakdown as this tournament progresses. Turn on those notifications, and I will see you guys in the absolute next video.